lift people out of poverty, to change the way the world works, and to remove the corruption and the power of money and the power of information out of the hands of a corrupt few and back into the hands of the people.
We'll be talking about blockchain identity and security. So the first question that I would like to address to our panel members is, what do you think about the future of using blockchain for identity management? So what I know is that Ian and Justin are going to speak at the Identity and Artificial Intelligence Conference this Friday. Yeah. So I'd like to invite you to share about what your view on blockchain to be used for identity management and how it can be used for financial inclusion, and what is technological appetite. Ian, please.
Can you hear me okay in the back? Yes. I can bloom if you need it. So identity's been a lingering problem for me since about 2011 when I was trying to persuade a Mexican migrant to use my Chase mobile banking app. And he said, "Senor, I don't want to be on your government's database. I'm just trying to give money to my family in Mexico." And that's when I started to realize we're not going to design our way out of this problem. It wasn't even a set of technological solutions, but it was legal, political, and quite a lot more to identity. I came to Singapore in 2013, and identity was the root problem to all my problems. As payments at the same time. So I've been pushing identity in and around Singapore, at MAS, and saying, look, all of the startups are dying compliance, KYC, AML, CTF. There's this kind of valley of death because they don't even know what compliance is, and it's taking them all out. As I was paying attention to blockchain emerging, we could see that it was very, very clear a decentralized anything was going to help, because everybody has a different trust relationship with their bank, with their government, with their carrier, with their Facebook, with their Skype, with their whatever. And our identities are scattered. In fact, it's estimated in the US you might have 200 identities based on all the various portals that you work with. It's become crystal clear in the last year and a half that blockchain is guaranteed to be the underlying technology for the majority of identity systems. And I say that because every identity company I talk to is working on blockchain, and every blockchain company I talk to is working on identity. So there's no doubt left in my mind now where there was doubt 4 or 5 years ago. So there's a clear connection now.
You know, I sort of see blockchain and identity from two different directions. You know, one is, and I'll touch on it a little bit more, some of the things that Ian was talking about around one of the real powers and values of blockchain-based identity is because these systems, and maybe to step back a little bit, with blockchain-based identity, the right solution is not putting all of the identity information on the blockchain, because that would end up, even with encryption, becoming a privacy disaster, right? You know, typically if you want to secure information, you both hide it and encrypt it. And the reason for that is because you know that people will break into your system, so you need to encrypt it. And you know that people will break the encryption, so you need to hide it. And, you know, so the blockchain-based identity solutions, what you're really doing is you're using a blockchain as a root, as a directory. And then that directory points out to data vaults that are owned and controlled by the user. In most cases today, those data vaults in the more serious blockchain identity solutions, the self-sovereign solutions, that data actually resides on your phone. And the private keys that are used to prove that that information is yours also reside on the phone. What this creates is really the first time in history that a human being is in control of their own identity information, since at least there's been formal identity. If you look at every other solution that's out there today, right, your government controls your identity and controls who it's shared with and when. Your bank controls your identity and controls who it's shared with and when. Google controls your identity and controls who it's shared with and when. Facebook controls your identity and controls who it's shared with and when. And yada, yada, yada. It goes on and on. This is a solution where for the first time in history, you control it. You control where it's shared and you control where it goes. So that's, to me, the fundamental change and the fundamental shift. The power that that creates for inclusion is, in those previous worlds, what happened was that central authority was the person who said you were who you said you were or not, right? The government said that I'm Justin, or, you know, the driver's license bureau said that I'm Justin. And what that meant is if I didn't have documentary evidence, if I didn't have a formal identity card, there was no way for me to prove who I am. Well, now with this blockchain-based identity, you can have both these centralized authorities that provide what's called an attestation to say that I'm Justin, but also now over time, Ian's gotten to know me, so Ian could say that I'm Justin. Dr. Lee downstairs has known me for several years. He could say I'm Justin, and so if I didn't have a formal ID, I could start to build up this rich kaleidoscope of other people who all say I am who I am, that can be the beginning of a formal identity and a way to start to bring people into the financial system who would have previously been locked out by that lack of formal documentation.
Well, I do think that identity and handling properly identity on the blockchain is one of the, if I may say, holy grails of the of making blockchain and the whole host of technologies very useful. So I don't have much to add to it. I do have a lot of questions, but I think it's the audience part to ask the questions, but we can talk about that later.
Political real fast here. Technological apartheid. Apartheid is a discriminatory practice. It's usually along racist lines. Became common in South African history. The rock star CEO of WorldRemit, which is one of the fastest growing technology companies out of the UK, is from Somalia, which is the poorest country on the planet. And he accused certain people within the UN of technological apartheid. Basically saying, if you're trying to deal with financial inclusion, there's a blunt truth where rich people have technology and poor people don't. That's discriminatory. So he called it a technological apartheid. That's the first time I heard the term. And so that's something that concerns me. I am super passionate about smartphones. I love that commoditization. It's one of the greatest singularities on our planet. Economists think 80% of humanity is going to have a smartphone by 2020. It's pretty profound when so many people have got that level of access and computing. But then we bring it back to blockchain and more sophisticated, quite nascent technologies. There's still a few leaps. You still need an education to be literate. You still need some education, and you're getting a good one here, to be articulate in blockchain. But even politically, you need to be aware of what your rights are, so you don't get pushed around by governments or corporations or financial people. Because a lot of people are intimidated by bankers, and I'm teaching my 19-year-old daughter to intimidate bankers. And so that's what I mean by apartheid. It's a power imbalance of how you play in the ecosystem.
Let us go to the second part, blockchain and security. So, Dave, I remember you mentioned that when you were doing the HelloGold token sale, you were phished. So would you like to share with us what happened?
Oh, well, okay, I mean, it feels like a million years ago. It was probably about June. Okay, how many people here have heard of 10x in the cryptos, right? So, like probably many of you, I tried to take part in the 10x token sale, or ICO as it was called back then. And I was on their Slack channel, and I'd been working through the night, as I always do. And it was about 7 o'clock in the morning, which is bedtime by my books. And I was about to go to bed, and I got a direct message from a guy who I thought I had been chatting to about something else, one of the admins, telling me that they had a special early access thing with a link, and I clicked on the link, and I went to the website, and it was the 10x website. It really was. And I sent the ether, and the moment I sent the ether, I went to check the transaction, and this light went off in my head saying, sucker. And since then, I have been sort of like passionate, really, about, because the point is, I am supposed to know about all this stuff, right? I'm old, I'm cranky, I'm jaded, and I should be suspicious of everything. There are a lot of people who are just starting to starting with like Ethereum and cryptocurrencies, who don't even have that kind of background. So I've been sort of like quite passionate about trying to help people avoid being fished. I mean, Matthew knows a lot about these things as well. But there are myriad ways that people are out there to get your funds. And I just thought, so like, people want your private keys, right? And so, how many people know that you should never reveal your private keys? If anybody ever asks you for your private key, for an airdrop, for anything, don't give it to them. How about someone's promised you an airdrop for some sort of ICO, you've never really heard of them, you're going to get some free tokens. All they want is your email address and your wallet address. Would you give it to them? Because the next thing you're going to do is you're going to get an official-looking email from MyEtherWallet or from somebody else who you know is absolutely kosher. There will be a link in there that looks absolutely perfect. It will take you to a website where one of the characters got a slight smudge on it, which is a fake site, and where we all use MyEtherWallet. We all load up JSON files or whatever, or give them our private keys because we know they're okay. But this site is stealing your keys. Right? There are hundreds of ways. So, I would just tell you the latest one that we found last night. Last night, I was online, and a great guy from the UK, Harry, he developed something called Ether Address Lookup, which helps warn you you're on a phishing site. He said, hey, someone on Etherscan posted their private key 4 days ago. And we were very, very concerned. Right? And it's a scam. So, can anybody think how you could be scammed if somebody gives you their private key? Hey. Okay. That means I've got 2 minutes, does it? Okay. Sorry. Okay. So, what it is this account has no ether in it. It only has tokens. Now, people see it and they think, they see the comment, I've got the private key, I can take those tokens. So I'll just put in a little bit of ether so I can pay for the gas to get the tokens. And of course, the guy who's running it has got it set up so that he can get your ether out faster than you can get the tokens. And for the past 4 days, there have been hundreds of transactions, people putting in a tiny bit of ether, and the ether disappears. And I think only one person managed to get any tokens. Yeah, it's a honeypot, yeah. Okay, so I mean, there are lots of things out there. Too many to go through on this. If you want to really read how to keep your wallet safe, follow MyEtherWallet on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter, on Medium, because I've written a lot of stuff, and you'll find links to all the other people who are doing it as well.
Matthew, he founded Etherscan, and then he should have something to say about it.
Yeah, I definitely have something to add. So I have a confession to make. I've got fished before. So have you heard of this? So without naming any names, but have you heard of this ICO called Enigma? So they had like a fake site and all stuff like that. So I have a confession. I got fished for 5 Ether. I think that was the first time that I got fished for. But on the bright side, I got refunded the 5 Ether. So hey. So yeah. So I guess when we're looking at security and the blockchain, right? The way I look at it, there are 3 different angles that you can look at it. So one way of classifying it is there is the security on the protocol level. Then you have the security on the application level, and the security on the user level, which is what we're actually talking about. So my area of interest, concern, and things that we do on a daily basis is deal with security on the user level. So one of the things that we do at Etherscan is that we actually provide free community support. So on a daily basis, we receive anywhere from 80 to 100 tickets. And most of this, there is basically a common theme. So you find that one of the biggest issues has to do with very basic stuff, managing private keys. Users getting phished, and even users asking for refunds, you know. So or for someone that's coming from the blockchain sector, you don't ask for refunds for transactions that occur on the blockchain. That isn't really the way it works. So, but the reason I'm saying this is that because what we're seeing is actually that we're getting a lot of really normal users. You know? So these are users that don't really understand what the blockchain is about. Going back maybe a couple of years, you had a little bit a slightly more technical crowd of people who sort of understood what blockchain was. But right now, we're actually seeing these are like regular folks, could be your mom, your dad, your sis, people who are just trying to taking the first step into this wonderful world of blockchain and ICOs, and most of them are in it for speculative reasons. So we're getting a lot of normal users. So I think as far as security and blockchain is concerned, I think what needs to be done by the industry is more on focusing on the user level, onboarding users, educating users on how to manage private key laws, and perhaps even better applications and tooling to help end users do this. So I think that's an area that I'm personally interested in, and I think that the focus should get towards that. Onboarding users, getting users onto the platform.
Andras, I can see you have a lot to say.
So, very important that assets and everything else on a blockchain needs to be handled differently. There is no password reset. Nobody can get it back to you. Nobody can reset your password. If I want to quote Uncle Ben, it says, with great power comes great responsibility. So once you lost your assets, your Ether, your Bitcoin, anything on the blockchain, you lost it for good. There is no way to get it back unless you are Matthew. But for us, normal people, no, it's not going to happen. So you need to make sure that you protect yourself. You learn how to store your digital assets. You learn how to receive, how to send them, and don't make the mistake of losing it all and losing it without a recourse. Even if when it comes to identity, the same applies. Identity theft can happen on or off blockchain. If it happens off blockchain, you go into to the government and you get your new identity. If it happens on the blockchain, that's a problem that needs to be solved. Yeah, yes. But this is something that if sometimes a centralized authority is helpful. Yeah. So before you get into any of this blockchain stuff, please make sure that you understand what you are getting.
Okay, I'd like to add two things. Matthew was saying ordinary folks. In HelloGold's token sale that finished in September, the oldest person in our token sale was in his 80s. Right? There was another lady who called herself grandmother or something, and she was in her 70s. So it really is ordinary people. And the other, you have to evaluate. I mean, lots of people, particularly earlier on in the year, everybody thought an ICO, just pour money into every ICO, you're bound to make money somewhere. Some of these ICOs themselves are really big scams, and covering the identity thing, some of them are very badly run. There was one ICO not too long ago that took subscribers' information, didn't encrypt it, and put it on the blockchain. So, once it's on the blockchain, guess how long it's going to be there?
I would just like to add one comment. You're interested in using there. gentleman called Ross Anderson. He's a professor of computer security at Cambridge University. And he's famous for a lot of things. One of them is saying, once you solve for authentication, the rest is just accounting. And I've been telling everybody at Fintech, it's what bit do you think the bots are going to do? What bit is the last bit that's going to get solved? Authentication is still the major problem that needs to be improved.
Okay. Anything else you want to? Yeah, sure.
You know, and this is, we're throwing out a bunch of general things, but I know many of you touch on a lot of different aspects of this. You know, one thing that I think is important for people to remember today when they're developing smart contracts is when you've deployed that smart contract, it's out there forever, right? And that means a number of things. Well, the biggest thing it means is if it has a bug, that bug is out there forever. And we've seen a number of very, very notable and very well-respected projects that have ended up having bugs that have ended up losing a lot of funds. And, you know, I was recently on a panel about 2 weeks ago back in the US with someone who ran a firm that what they do is audit smart contracts. And, you know, what the guy was willing to say on the panel is that every smart contract that his company was brought into audit, after another company brought into audit, they found more bugs. What he didn't say on the panel, but did tell me backstage, was that the reverse was also true. Every smart contract that they had audited, that was then audited by someone else found more bugs. And so what this means is if you're deploying these technologies, you need to keep two things in mind. The first is start simple, make a simple contract. Don't try and build something that takes over the entire world in your first build. Walk through the things slowly. The second thing I would want to say on that I think is important is ensure that it goes through multiple audits so that people are double checking it. And third, when you first release a smart contract, don't put $200 million worth of value into it. It's way too big a target. You know, start small, learn about what's going on. If there are bugs in it, let them get worked out and found when the values are not catastrophic to you, or aren't going to make people consider forking the blockchain to compensate the world for your bug. It's a dangerous area. You're basically putting something out there where your money can explode. So keep it simple, pay really close attention, and make sure people are double checking your work.
It's a really quick note. So looking at the topic that blockchain identity. If you look at blockchain identity, definitely there is a need for identity within the blockchain space and outside the blockchain space. But blockchains and identity at this very basic level are actually what we call entities. You have blockchains because when we actually started out many years back, when blockchains were all about privacy and doing things transparently. So it's really just interesting to see how far we've come since then, and come to a point where identity is something that's actually needed and goes hand in hand with it. Just
Okay. We have the luxury of time to take maybe 2 questions. So is there anyone who would like to address any questions to our panel?
Thank you very much, guys. Great panel. It's Andras from PwC's Fintech team. Great insights on security side, especially very cool. My question is about KYC. Over the last couple of months now, we're seeing all the ICOs do put in place kind of KYC framework. It's the emails, the names, the passport, the selfies, whatever it is. What's your view based on some of the discussions we had? What kind of KYC will we be doing in 1 year, 2 years from now? Or how do you see the landscape evolving over the coming months and 1 or 2 years? Thank you.
Hi, thank you for the question. This is actually what we do for a living, is actually doing KYC for blockchains and ICOs, including we're actually doing one for that PwC is doing most project. What we're seeing is, basically what's happening is regulators are coming in and looking at this space. What they're doing is they're regulating not the technology. They're not saying we're regulating blockchain. What they're doing is they're regulating the applications of that technology as if it was run on any traditional network. And, what the common advice of most lawyers is today around token sales or around exchanges or others is that even if the token is not a security, if it's just a utility, because of the fact that it's freely exchangeable and freely tradable, it has the same KYC and AML requirements that you would see in a traditional financial environment if it was dollars or SIG dollars or anything else. This has been a relatively recent conversion on the token side. I can say, 3 months ago, everyone was pretending that it didn't matter. 2 months ago, everyone was praying that it didn't matter. And in the last month, everyone's been giving us phone calls saying, can you get us live next week? Because the pressure has come up both on the regulatory side, but also from their own internal compliance lawyers. So I think that what you're going to see, as we look out 1 or 2 years, and it's going to actually happen much faster than that. I think you're going to see it happen in the next 1 or 2 quarters as you see the regulators start to move from making mumbling sounds to actually starting serious enforcement action. You're going to see that the KYC requirements are going to be exactly the same as if you were, opening up a Bank of Singapore account or a Fidelity account or anywhere else that you were doing a similar kind of activity.
I think obviously the main reason behind this is exactly the same I was talking about earlier. A year ago, something was an ICO, and it purely really techniques. People understand crypto to get into it. Now, you run a token sale, and it is a 70-year-old grandma who is just trying to put a bit of her savings into it. And that's who the regulators have to look after. So that's why
From a risk perspective, I agree with you.
Yeah.
This is actually about compliance. They're trying to make sure that bad guys can't move this money around.
I mean, that's what we believed and have been advocating for some time. I was working at the side of a bank when the hand of God literally came down on the fintech industry. And we all went through 200,000 people having to get mandatory training. The bank is not doing that because that's what they want to do at the time. That's the government saying you don't function unless you comply. So compliance has been what's been crushing the banks economically to be compliant, get their systems out. It was only a matter of time. Certainly all the fintechs and absolutely all the blockchain activity has to comply and wants to participate in these ecosystems. But we've been telling people for a long time, KYC as it exists is a dead man walking. Banks don't know their customer because they're dislocated. When you're interacting with an enterprise, there's no one on the other side of that that actually knows you. And that's what banking used to be. So it has to go through that, and I think it has to return to that community structure that you talked about. You can't go too far in financial inclusion without looking at Mohammed Yunus and the Grameen Bank. And in order to get that micro loan out, you would have to bring in 5 of your friends to validate, yeah, this is who he says he is. We're not obliged to repay this debt, but we will socially apply the pressure to make sure that he complies with that relationship. And that's where I see the blockchain going. So I would want to participate, and I would bring in 5 of my friends to confirm that. So that, to me, that's what KYC is. It's not my name, my address, my mother's maiden name, magical number that the government's issued, and then some arbitrary question. That's such a people construct, and it's so easy to fake, and it will be really easy to fake with AIs. And the dirty little secret around India's Aadhaar system is that there's about 20 million Mahatma Gandhis registered, and so there's millions and millions of fake identities on the Aadhaar system. So they've got to go back through and clean all of that out. So KYC's got to go through some pretty powerful rethinking, and that the governments are going to be pushing that. YouSpE.
Wow, okay. Okay. Yes, maybe one more.
Okay.
My question is, there was recent research done where by university, I think early in the UK, where it said there's only about 1 million crypto wallets in the world, and most people hold multiple wallets, so it's much smaller than that. So for blockchain to go to the mainstream, when you want to talk to the 70-year-old grandmas, the non-techies and non-geeks, for them to be able to transact using blockchain without understanding the whole idea of securing a private key and stuff like that, do you see any movements or any projects that are working on sort of expanding the security in like a layman way? Does that make sense?
I have super opinions on this, but I don't want to hold the mic.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's definitely a lot of work that's ongoing around key management in particular, which is, I think, the key security issue around that. I would say that nothing that I have seen so far is a super smooth consumer process that the average end user is going to feel really comfortable with. I see things are definitely trending in that direction. And some of the things that are helping go that way are like 2 of 3 multi-sig, where you may have a third party that keeps one of those keys offline that you can use for recovery. Or there's people that are setting up like Uport, which is doing a decentralized identity. They're setting up actually having basically recovery friends. And so, if I lose my private keys or my identity gets hacked, I could have the 3 of them who may not know each other restore my identity for me. And things like that. So there's work being done in that direction, but it's still not as easy as centralized recovery.
If you do anything with private keys, obviously you should not ever store them on your computer, on your phone, or any of the devices which can be hacked into. There are ways to store private keys securely, like hardware wallets and other devices, which are not very user-friendly, but they are getting there. So we do need quite a bit of work in that way to make it secure for the masses, so to say. I think eventually it will have to be somehow integrated with cell phones. And yeah, absolutely. But before that, it's going to be very difficult to make it secure for everybody. One more thing, sometimes I help people with providing them hardware wallets. And recently I made an order of 200 pieces of these ledger wallets to say, okay, finally I will have enough for a while to give away. The order came today, I have 2 left. So on the good side of things, more and more people are interested. So I do see an incredible uptake in people interested in proper security on the blockchain.
I wasn't sure if you had 2 parts to your question, or if I was just hearing it between 2 personalities. The usability aspect of it is non-trivial. I used to run usability for Chase in North America. I had 40 people scrubbing our stuff and giving it back to us, telling us our baby was ugly and we won't do it again, because we had to make it easy to use for 70 to 80-year-olds. But then I think what's kind of tripped me up and had me thinking a lot in the last 6 years, I don't think most people even understand money. Most people actually don't even know where money comes from, or how it comes into being, or how it's managed, or governments get to make it, and that's their right, and it's issued as a unit of trust. And currency's put out in the ecosystem as a little rectangle of trust. It's the purest form of interoperability after it's cool. But most people don't understand quantitative easing. Most people don't understand fractional reserve lending, which gives a bank the right to just make money. They don't have to live by the same rules as you and I. So I would say to that part, it's actually more important to understand money, and then you'll be in a better position to understand the trust fabric of a decentralized system.
Yeah, so going back to your thing regarding getting, so I think we're definitely not there yet. I mean, the wallets that are out there, things, it's just kind of complicated for the normal users to use. So I think the the issue being here is, goes back to what usability, but I think it's finding a compromise between usability and security. So that's the tricky part. I mean, if you're looking at like a normal apps, right? So usability is not really an issue. So I know this is what I shouldn't really be saying, but I think going forward, what we're going to see more centralized apps managing wallets and private keys. So look at some of the largest blockchain companies in the world. Let's take Coinbase, for instance. Coinbase, which is based in the US, so they're one of the largest blockchain companies. So one of the reasons they've got to where they are today is because they just made it easy for regular folk to acquire Bitcoin and to use Bitcoin. And they are a centralized entity, and they've actually played a really big role within the ecosystem as far as moving the adoption forward. So I think going forward, we're definitely going to see more. It's kind of weird, no, because you're talking about like being your own bank, with blockchain and all. But I think at the end of the day, we're still going to be going back to the basic stuff that a lot of these are going to be centralized if you're going to see mainstream adoption.
In fact, the centralization, have you ever seen Paxful? Well, Paxful are mainly Bitcoin at the moment. They're moving to Ethereum. I mean, how many people here have bought Ether or Bitcoin? And could you have done it without a credit card or a bank account? Right? Yeah. There is one company in the US called Paxful that sell Bitcoin, and soon they'll be selling Ether to people in countries where you don't have access to credit cards. They will take almost anything that they can convert. They will take Amazon or iTunes gift vouchers and things like that, all so that you can buy your cryptocurrencies. So I mean, yeah, I mean, but they're going to be centralized again. I think that because we've got to when you have a room full of relatively young people, most of you. Myself excluded. You can handle all this stuff. But my mum, who's in her mid-80s now, she's now having a problem. Starting to have a problem with her computer. She's starting to have a problem even with, with an iPad. Somehow they're going to have to handle this if we're going to move forward in this kind of thing.
Maybe
actually invest more in You know, I think oh yeah. Are we one of that sounds good. I actually don't have any after questions. Things will So basically, they're good for myself. You know, take place in months. It's a well-done program. Yeah. It's just funny. Seriously. Here we go. Why not? Yeah. I'll bring it on. Actually, I can show it here. In particular, this session, but I think every single security store. I know
It's not recorded, right? Yeah. You have.
就是因为在小麦克风出来之后，直播出去是那个小白的麦克风是没有声音的。我看这里边也是没有声音。
听有吗？
啊？
听有吗？
听有，外面有。所以我刚才都是用的这个才能收到，要不然就没有。
No, if you're, I will look at that. And you have a,
you know, I think the problem right now in Taiwan is more like they kind of copy what Singapore did, what Boston did, what Hong Kong did. And add a little bit of spice on top of it because of the reference. It's very problematic. I don't know whether it's contextual perspective.
It has to be utilized, it has to be In fact, I asked him the same question.
What's how you
I have
what's it like?
I love
Check. Check. 1, 2. Check. 1, 2. Check. 1, 2. Check. 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2.这个灯我可以关掉啊。现在 sound check 1, 2。sound check 1, 2。sound check. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check. Check 1, 2. Sound check 1, 2. Sound check 1, 2. 1, 2. Like this 1, 2. 扭那个 headphone。Check 1, 2. Sound check 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Sound check. Mic testing 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
好的啦。
你要看哪？ Check 1, 2.
To lift people out of poverty, to change the way the world
Check
works,
one.
and to
这个可以啊，现在可以啊，你看一下，你看一下我那边没有调到它是吗？
and the power of
没有，你现在再看一下 ，make sure 它可以的，因为刚才我去后面调东西，我怕我影响到它。可以啊 ，OK。
To out of poverty, to change the way the world works, and to remove the corruption and the power of money and the power of information out of the hands of a corrupt few and back into the hands of the people. Out of poverty, to change the way the world works, and to remove the corruption and the power of money and the power of information out of the hands of a corrupt few and back into the hands of the people. poverty, to change the way the world works, and to remove the corruption and the power of money and the power of information out of the hands of a corrupt few and back into the hands of the people. Out of poverty, to change the way the world works, and to remove the corruption and the power of money and the power of information out of the hands of a corrupt few and back into the hands of the people. out of poverty, to change the way the world works, and to remove the corruption and the power of money and the power of information out of the hands of a corrupt few and back into the hands of the people. Out of poverty, to change the way the world works, and to remove the corruption and the power of money and the power of information out of the hands of a corrupt few and back into the hands of the people. out of poverty, to change the way the world works, and to remove the corruption and the power of money and the power of information out of the hands of a corrupt few and back into the hands of the people. Out of poverty, to change the way the world works, and to remove the corruption and the power of money and the power of information out of the hands of a corrupt few and back into the hands of the people. out of poverty, to change the way the world works, and to remove the corruption and the power of money and the power of information out of the hands of a corrupt few and back into the hands of the people. Out of poverty, to change the way the world works, and to remove the corruption and the power of money and the power of information out of the hands of a corrupt few and back into the hands of the people. poverty, to change the way the world works, and to remove the corruption and the power of money and the power of information out of the hands of a corrupt few and back into the hands of the people.
So I can speak. Oh.
Yes, then this one you can pass to them. This is going to be on. You can pass around. I think you want all along.
I guess we need one more.
Just in case there's some distortion, so we just.
So we have two, right? And I can give it to.
The other one is that during Q&A we'll move around to see whether they need to ask questions.
Okay.
Q&A.
If you can open up for them to ask you questions.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm sure Addy can only think of so many questions.
No, not so many actually.
Sitting in the order.
It's up to you.
Oh, there's water.
Yeah, maybe that's easier for people.
Just sit here, and I will sit in the corner.
You want?
Yeah. Sit here. And then I will go and maybe ask a question. So.
You don't have to press anything for this too.
Sit anywhere.
No.
Yeah.
This one you can press.
Yeah. So we can speak. We already can speak.
Yeah, I think not many people here, so one for each should be enough.
There's quite a lot of other conversation going on.
It's like, it's not a stage.
Oh, it's a microphone. I want to test the heaters.
What?
The test heaters. So, is he coming? The heaters.
Yeah, he will be running a little bit late.
I can just ask. And it is Heatherm. Yeah.
Heaters. Yeah.
Heatherm.
You.
Yeah, I'm Heatherm.
Yeah. But I guess you can just speak louder, right?
Okay.
Just speak louder. Yeah. Everyone will hear.
Yeah, so many people. So.
Yeah. It's
so it's a room 03, right?
Huh?
It's block 2. It's block B, level 2, 03, right?
Yeah.
Level 2.
Okay.
Oh, there's Dušan.
Block B.
Oh, Dušan.
Level 2, and also room 3.
Yeah, just sit here. Where you want.
No, it's the traffic is really bad. It took me half an hour from the CBD.
Yeah,
we will start.
Okay, hi everyone. I guess we will start. One of our panelists is running a little bit late, but he will be here with us soon. It's Heatherm. He's the founder and CEO of Nebulas, and he will soon join us. So hi everyone. And today we will speak on blockchain and inclusion. It's a pretty wide topic, right? But anyway, we talked to the panelists and we defined some structure that we will keep to. So let's start, I guess, with our great experts and panelists. I guess everyone, just starting from Dušan, you can say like just a few words about yourself and why you're here with us today. And my name is Addy Crezee, and I'm the CEO at BlockShow by Cointelegraph, which is a blockchain conference, and the ex-CMO at Cointelegraph, which is the media resource. So Dušan, let's start with you. Please tell the audience, who are you?
Yeah, does this work? Yeah. So who do we have here? Like, how many of you are students here? Okay, not that many. So how many are entrepreneurs running companies? More. I don't know what the rest are. What would that be?
Pardon?
What would the rest be?
Maybe investors?
Okay. All right. Okay. So so my background. Yeah. Okay. Very shortly. So I was 3 times entrepreneur, and the last thing that I actually managed to do well, my first 2 startups were almost failures. The first one was okay. The second one was a real failure. The third one actually worked. Wasn't an internet bank. During the .com boom. So it was a little bit like now. Everybody, wow, we're going to disrupt the world. We actually made it. We delivered. And we made 12 million euros of profit and did one of the first internet banks in France called Monabank, which was sold to CIC in 2005. So that's when I did my exit, and I started to invest in payments, and then after payments into blockchain, and now also very much involved in ICOs. What should I say about financial inclusion? Maybe the main reason why I'm here in Singapore, moved from Europe, is that what I believe is the biggest opportunity in the world right now. Now I see it broadly. I see it with traditional payments and not only blockchain, but that's the opportunity.
That's the thing. We won't speak only about financial inclusion here because blockchain is definitely not about finance only. Yeah. So Dušan is an investor and a successful entrepreneur with some failures as any entrepreneur has.
Yeah, it worked better actually as an investor, so I forgot to say that. So I made some money, and then I did 18 investments, and 9 of those have been exited, and then I had 3 exits in a week in 2012, and then I was awarded Angel of Europe in 2013. So it worked better actually as an investor than originally an entrepreneur.
Thanks. So John is from QTUM.
Yeah, I'm John Scianna from QTUM. I've been in the industry 4 years. Pretty much seen it all, been in different aspects of the space, from journalism, B2B payments, regulation, and now at QTUM. So, I mean, I've seen it all. It definitely gets more and more interesting by the day. But yeah, I think blockchain is one of the most inclusive technologies, from the way it's built all the way to who can participate in, just like the internet.
I hope in the nearest 35 minutes you'll provide lots of insights from QTUM on what businesses are actually want to implement blockchain. So Pavel from Bluzelle.
So I'm Pavel, originally from Vancouver, Canada, moved to Singapore 1.5 years ago. Bluzelle is a decentralized database for decentralized applications. Before that, come from the video game, digital media industry, worked for Nintendo, Disney. Had my own startup before in doing Bluzelle. Just like Addy and Dušan said, that didn't really work out. After that, stumbled onto blockchain and saw same thing. It was like, the inclusive nature of democratizing and decentralizing things and allowing new systems and new people to basically create wealth. I saw that as the future and dove right in. So we've been here 1.5 years working.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Yes, my name is Heatherm Huang. I'm co-founder of the Measurable data token. I'm also a serial entrepreneur. And my last startup was we founded in 2011, which is a push-to-talk messaging app. That was way before the WeChat, and then we turned down the acquisition offer by Tencent, and then they just copied it and just made a WeChat app. Yeah, that was 2011. Yeah, and then we've been working on an email app that makes your emails as quick and easy as text messaging. And recently we turned those email big data transactions into a blockchain project called the Measurable data token. Yeah. That's about me. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Abdus Rujubali. I'm the COO of YouSpE, Financial Tech. We are a startup here in Singapore. We focus on blockchain technology and for a number of financial applications. Now, my background is basically in finance for most of my career, but I've also taken part in some startups, advisory from the previous companies that I used to work for. One of them was to do with how do we look at projects and startups that really benefit financial inclusion, but also other forms of wellness for human beings, right? So it could be investing in a project that uses clean water, or how do we get electricity to villages, or how do we make our world a better place, right? I know it sounds a bit corny, but that's the kind of things that we actually like to do. And I think through this session, we can find out a lot more about how blockchain can help, but also we'll talk a little bit about financial inclusion as well, because I think that's quite an important part of blockchain. So looking forward to having some questions from the audience as well, and to let us know what you want to hear as much as us.
Yeah, we'll have some questions at the end.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. So yeah, before I ask my first question to you, my dear panelists today, I would like to say some words. So it's like the subject is blockchain inclusive, right? So it's pretty wide. It's a pretty wide subject, and we are all here because of blockchain, right? So I guess around more than 500 people on this conference. But the fact is that the word blockchain, it didn't even appear in the initial white paper of Satoshi Nakamoto, right? So he didn't even write about it, but now everyone speaks about it. Everyone writes about it. So I just want to state you the latest titles of the news for the last week. It's really crazy. So for example, a legendary investor, Mike Novogratz, stated that institutional investors are close to adopting Bitcoin. MasterCard patents blockchain tech for instant payments. Hong Kong government established blockchain-based trade financing system. Baltic finance ministries decide to support blockchain technology development. SAP adds 27 members to blockchain innovation program, and NASDAQ partners to launch blockchain economy index. It's just last week, just for the last week. So it's totally crazy. And my first question to you guys will be about the actual blockchain inclusion and blockchain adoption and application, right? So it's really widely used now and widely discussed everywhere. So what do you think, maybe you can provide your project as an example, where blockchain in the nearest future will be really implemented? In what industry, from AI to medicine? So what are your thoughts on this? Where blockchain will be really implemented?
My personal thoughts, because I've been working with banks and insurers for the past year, and all those headlines are good, but to me they're meaningless. I think those aren't the ones that are going to do it. It's not the corporations, it's not NASDAQ. This technology is way too new for them to do. It's just all talk. What it's going to be is products like this, like the actual applications that all the entrepreneurs who are pitching to all those banks and insurers and saying, do this, do that, and they're all slow. It's like, hey, well, now we got funding where we're just going to put those products out. So I actually think it's going to come from the ground level of all the entrepreneurs putting out those new decentralized applications out there. And that's going to bring the regular consumers into it, doing new, innovative stuff.
So you think all this NASDAQ and MasterCard, it's all blah, blah?
Headlines. Just press releases they're chasing for noise. They're not doing the real work. If you were a real developer on the blockchain, why would you go work for a corporation? You would want to basically start your own.
Maybe because you're not an entrepreneur. It's like Steve Wozniak. He worked for companies before Steve Jobs came to him. The same with developers.
Yeah. So, but now the time is. So I think they're all just chasing headlines. That's my personal. I think it's the guys on the ground doing it.
I need to agree with Pavel on that, actually. I actually think all the things that you put there on the press releases you said, I think it's really bullshit. I think it's really just POCs and nothing will go into production. They're just doing it to increase their share price because they see the crypto is going up and showing that they're trendy. So I really don't, my biggest, recommendation to every single entrepreneur is not to go for large corporates. It's going to kill your company. I partly agree with Pavel in that judgment. Now, where I believe, and my strong belief, and it's one of my smallest startups, and not at all as successful as these you guys, it's called Bounty Source, which is a community of 46,000 open source developers. We started that in 2013, and we had the first kind of Ripple bounties then, and basically took an issue, a problem from Ripple, and then basically the open source community solved that problem and got paid in Ripple. That's early adoption. Now, is it quick? No. But it's 46,000 out there who are using it, but way quicker than the big corporates.
Yeah. I want to play a little bit of devil's advocate. I think corporations, they may not adopt it for the same reasons as entrepreneurs would or the small corporates. However, they have the mass market. They are the brands that get the product to globally out there. And that's the challenge that every small cap entrepreneur will have, right? Is how do you scale your business? Okay, like you've just mentioned, you can reach, 20, 30, 40,000 users, right? How do you reach 100 million? How do you get to 200 million? You have to be able to partner with somebody who has that scalability. Not every startup's going to have, a huge data center, the reach, the marketing, the sales teams, the support teams. You don't have that scalability. So as much as they are headlines, I think they are, one, they're scared of the blockchain of the technology, and that's why they need to address it. They need to be seen as having a blockchain solution, right? If they don't have a blockchain solution, then they're not. Yeah, exactly. They're not here. They're not with the. So that's why I think, to a certain degree, you do need to have the big corporations backing.
That's what we actually see, right? So all of these biggest blockchain platforms now, they are also partnering with big corporations, big brands that help them to actually promote their platforms to people, right? That's one of the subjects that I will cover in future. I mean, the scalability itself. John, you're representing Quantum, so you have lots of businesses approaching, I guess, Quantum in order to implement blockchain. Maybe ask you how to use it. So, do you have any insights? What are really, or what businesses from which industries are really keen on blockchain?
Yeah, so I think the businesses, there's just too much bureaucracy, and innovation happens way too fast. So by the time they get the approval for this idea, you know, someone's already built it, and that's why you see these large corporations, they just buy it. It's a lot cheaper to just buy a company, and this guy will have a lot of excess and make a lot of money. But yeah, the big corporations, yeah, they pay a lot of money. And that's why there's so many entrepreneurs in this space, is because they know that's what will ideally happen. But yeah, I think, yeah, especially for banking, you know, there's way too many regulations. Yeah, you have like just different levels. You have the state level, the city level, the national level, and even the international laws that affect banking. So one of the things that I think blockchain will appeal to the most is the IoT industry, which, you know, machines to machines, they don't really need to trust humans, and which network should they trust if they're, you know, interoperable. So I think that's one of the key ones. But yeah, of course, yeah, financial institutions, yeah, they come to us, but they still don't understand what blockchain is. They think, okay, yeah, we could save money by using it as a settlement like Ripple. But I think that blockchain and the idea behind it is just so much more powerful than, yeah, just using it for a settlement.
Yeah, but actually, is there a particular industry that you see will really implement blockchain in the nearest future? Because we hear so much stuff about like blockchain here, blockchain there. I guess even at this conference and the upcoming ones, blockchain is everywhere. But where it's really implemented?
Yeah.
Finance, insurance. What?
Well, the Trusted IoT just launched a few months ago, but it's been in the works for over a year now. And so Cisco is a part of that. BNY Mellon, Bosch, and there's like 30 new members. So, like I said, it's just a lot of regulation. It's a lot quicker to happen. IoT, there needs to be a standard because there's all these different IoT standards going on right now. So how to, like, each Bluetooth, they connect. So that's one of the key industries.
I'm sorry that I'm so skeptical, but it's exactly like 99. Everybody wanted to have an internet page, right? Did that mean that they did transactions? No. Did things get delivered? No. It was, I mean, I agree with you. All these have signed things, but are they actually doing something scalable in production? I'm really doubting that. I mean, sorry for being negative.
No, of course, we're still at the early stages. That's why I said we're setting standards with IoT. We're not, you know, what we're trying to do is, yeah, see where it works best. Because, yeah, a lot of people, they don't know, especially the large corporations. They're always catching up. So.
Heatherm from Nebulas just joined us. Heatherm is actually, yes, you're one of the co-founder of Andshears, right? Yeah. It's Neo now. So yeah, a big guy with us now. And we are talking about the blockchain implementation in different industries. And as you've just come, a question to you, because we just had an answer from Quantum, from the representative of Quantum. So yeah, John, yeah. And yeah, we're discussing where actually blockchain is implemented now, and the John said that it's really IoT, right? So what are your thoughts on that? So where do you think blockchain will be really implemented in the nearest future?
Okay, I'm so sorry for the late, since Singapore is the traffic, and Singapore is bigger than I think, right? I'm just coming from the expert side for the speech I just gave. So yeah, about the implementation, I have a different angle for this implementation. So I think for my last word, for last sentence in my speech, just 25 minutes before, it's about, ask not what blockchain can do for us, and ask what we can do for blockchain. I think that's the truth, yeah. Because blockchain industry is still the baby industry. And this is there was a huge impact on our society, just like internet. So you compare 20 or 30 years before, you cannot, just imagine, how internet can do something for my business. So when I was in college in year 2004, I do something like a business or a company website on internet. But nowadays, no one look for the company website unless you want to find some job, right? But no one, because that's the thinking model. I think we need to change the thinking model. And if the blockchain is gonna be big and huge, and we want the contribution, I think maybe 2 or 3 keywords from my point of view. And the first one is a different angle, right? We need some different angle. It's a baby industry, and we not the current, how you do the business with blockchain, how gonna be helpful, for using blockchain technology. It's for the future angle. I think there will be more population and more about 1 trillion, the coin cap, within 3 years. And at least it's about 1 billion user before 2025. If you see this angle, that'll be totally different. Because we can dig more value, we can dig more gold just using blockchain, just inside the blockchain industry, not the outside, using the blockchain for some outside, for the industry combination. That's my point of view. That's different angle. The second thing about the contribution. We want more contribution. And nowadays, a lot of ICO, they are shitty. At least 90%. They just want to do the combination, for the current industry and with the blockchain, or maybe with the token, with the tokenization. It's not the thing we want. I heard the speech, for Vitalik for last night. And also, he mentioned that. Not the thing we want. We want the real contribution for blockchain industry itself. Still the baby industry. We need more contribution for that. And this is the second, keywords. The last keywords is the believing. Firstly, we need to be the believer first for this future for blockchain. Yeah. So, thank you.
Yeah, speaking about, thanks, Heather, so much for such a speech. But I'm the moderator, so I should bother you guys. And my question, so yeah, in order to bring all that into practice, right, in order to contribute, in order to make blockchain big in our lives, as you said, what should we do with regulation, right? So we are talking here about blockchain implementation, contribution, believing, and so on and so forth. But it's impossible without structured regulation and institutional investors coming and investing in the industry, right? So, guys, what are your thoughts on regulation? Are you for it or against it? Maybe you believe, I don't know, in 2 parallel worlds. One is blockchain world, unregulated, another is like government world. So what are your thoughts and beliefs on that? And what is the future of blockchain regulation in different countries and how it will influence the blockchain adoption in our world and in different industries? What's your thoughts? Yeah, Pavel.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I think regulation is about the tokens. It's not about the blockchain itself, right? Yeah, because when you are working on the if you are working on the app, or if you are working on something like QTUM or Neon, yeah. So basically, you are not yes, you are not regulated, right? So you are only being regulated only if you issue a token, and only if.
Yeah, true. It's about tokens. So,
So basically, the government, they are not going to just regulate the blockchain itself. They are regulating the tokens. Yeah.
But blockchain means tokens, right? So you should issue tokens in order to use it or to do something. So the question is actually, of course, they can't regulate the technology itself, but they can regulate the instruments built upon that.
Yeah, sure.
Tokens it's built upon it. So the question is about the instruments built. Cryptocurrencies, tokens, anything, right? So
well, there's both sides, right? So the tokens, obviously, I think it needs to be light touch. I personally wish there was no regulation on the token, but I mean, people can't help themselves. Like, should they be doing if they can't take 2 hours to research out what this company is all about, learn about it, and they fall for a scam, my thing is like, well, that's your fault. But people can't help themselves, so some people need to be protected. So you do need that light touch of the government on that. But also, it's not just tokens. Some products, the blockchain might not be regulated, but if you're doing a security product, like you're dealing with financial payments, there are regulatory things that you need to do to protect. I think what regulatory just can't do is take their years and time that they do to fast track, move things forward. Because this technology is moving so faster, they have to start realizing that, hey, we just got to, certain things, like if you're doing a financial product and somebody needs a license, they're stopped from building their product out there or a currency exchange. They just got to shorten that time frame. They got to adapt to the new way of doing things.
Well, I come from America, and it's pictured as an ideal democracy, but we can't get one bill passed. So how are we going to regulate something that, the regulators can't even, agree to do anything? There's certain things that, should be regulated. I mean, there's tokens that are securities. Is it a token? Is it a blockchain? Are you just using it as a fundraising mechanism because you can't get money from this guy? Probably. That should fall under regulation. Obviously, there shouldn't be Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes that give the industry a bad name. But for regulating technology, it's hard to do. Can they keep up with it? I don't think so. So that's the way I see it.
I've taken regulatory risks since 2010 in my investments, and I'm a big believer in self-regulation, actually. So I'm a big believer that one should be proactive and think through and adopt things that you believe make sense as an industry before anyone tells you to do it. And it should come as common sense. And the stronger the self-regulation bodies, I truly believe that they will let us go.
So, you think regulation is, so we're speaking about inclusion and adoption, right? So you think it's a tool that really makes it easier for other people to come into the industry and to trust it? Or it's something that people will cope with in future, so they don't need it, right? Because when you say you are for self-regulation, it's like anarchism, right? It's like crypto-anarchism. It's saying like I'm against it at one thing. But do you really think that big guys will come to the industry where there is only self-regulation? You think so? In how many years?
You could just see Japan. They've self-regulated, and it's one of the best examples of things working.
No, but they made Bitcoin wholly legal. Why? How you can?
But before that, the country said, okay, you guys should self-regulate, and they did that. They implemented the KYC. They did all this. That's a great example. I mean, Quantum, we've kind of known that. They're going to crack down. So we issued financial reports. We tell people what we're doing like every week, the way you should be. This is an open and transparent ledger. You should be open and transparent about what you're doing, how you're doing things, and that's a good idea of self-regulation. Every company should do that. Every blockchain project should do that.
Sorry, thanks. So I agree in two things, right? I think when you talk about regulations, 99% of the time you're talking about something to do with finance. Whether it's money laundering, whether it's know your client, whether it's is this security or not security, it's all to do about the movement of funds, right? And it's not really about. I agree with this. It's not about you're regulating an application, right? What you're regulating is underlying the movement of funds. Where's that funds going to? Who has it? What are you going to do with it, right? And that's why banks take years and years and years, and especially in the US, you get layer upon layer upon layer upon regulation, and it doesn't make anything any clearer. It makes things more complicated, and it just takes longer to get things done, right? So I think when we talk about tokens, for example, I agree to a certain degree that, we have to establish what a token truly is. Is it a commodity? Is it an asset? Will it appreciate? Will it depreciate? What is it, right? And I think that needs to be solved, right? For this kind of blockchain to really take off, for investors to come in and feel safe, right? Self-regulation is good in a place like Japan where nobody, you leave your wallet and nobody will take it, right? It's in a place where everybody buys into self-regulation. But let's be realistic, right? In a global platform, there's good people and there's bad people. There are people that are going to take advantage of blockchain, right? For their own good, for their own greed. And that's what we need to eradicate. So I think regulation will work to control that aspect. But again, we don't want to over-regulate things and make things more complicated. So that's the challenge.
Yeah. It's okay. So, yeah. So, for my opinion, so regulation is about responsibility to make things, easier. So you cannot take no responsibility if you fundraise, 10 million or 15 million, for your own project. So why not? Nowadays, those regulating authorities, they are chasing for us. Chasing for the pace, with us. But why not? We are chasing for the regulation for our industry. I think, there's a small there's a very few regulating topic happened in our industry. We all chasing for the freedom. We are chasing for the decentralization, everything, right? On everything. But why not we get some, some our people united, and chasing for the regulation by ourselves. I think I saw few, movement on this. We need to, make some progress, take some actions on that.
Thanks so much. The regulation is a very important topic, and thanks for providing your opinion on that. We have just 8 minutes left, and have very important two topics that we need to cover in terms of blockchain inclusion. So the first problem that I think that we have now in terms of adoption of blockchain is its scalability, right? And the second thing is education. I would like to make this one topic out of this too, and ask you one question. So firstly, Bitcoin, Ethereum, right? They all are heading now real scalability problems. So what do you think is the key now to adoption of blockchain? I mean, what platform, maybe some platforms that you think are able to do that? And what should be the instrument, what should be the key of this platform to do that? And the second thing is education. So don't you think that all of these platforms that are built now, blockchain platforms and ICOs that raised money, they raised money but they don't have customers. So they don't have people that will actually use it. And that's a big problem because they raised millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, hundreds, actually in September it's 800 million, right? $800 million, but there are no customers that can use this. Tools and projects and services. So what is the key now for people to come and use it? Is it education? Maybe something else? And in order to use it, right, the blockchain themselves should be scalable. That should be usable for millions of users. So the question is, what is the platform? What is the key to adoption in terms of scalability and education?
For us, what we're realizing is because of those scalability issues, blockchain became almost like catch-all terms, that one platform does everything. So what I think you're seeing now is a breaking up of that. So for example, Ethereum, great for smart contracts, tokenization, but now like for ourselves, we realize that Ethereum is not the best for storing large amounts of data. So we will build a decentralized database protocol. You have Filecoin do the same thing for files, Golem doing for super computing, super processing. So I think you're going to see the breakup of all that. So that's where I see it going now. Is the blockchain itself is going to start being layers of just like how the internet, and each people will play a role. Now you have the scalability, and now the applications can pick how they want to really build up. Then on the education aspect, I just spent a whole day yesterday with one of our advisors actually building out an open source community plan for the next year of saying, okay, it's great you're going to have this product out, this decentralized database. How are we going to get the developers on? How are we going to educate them? And he went through that as a product evangelist for MySQL and other ones, saying this is the roadmap we did. So we spent a whole afternoon just gaming that and saying, okay, what is that map for the entire next 2 years to solve that education problem? So you have people using this product and educating the rest of the people how to use it.
Yeah, I think decentralization is here and scalability is here. So you gotta. It's a moving scale. You gotta pick where you want to be on that scale. Yeah, if you're having thousands of applications built on your platform, and all of them have operations for doing data storage and all this, where are you going to move on that scale? Yeah, a blockchain isn't a catch-all. You can't do everything you have ever thought about in life and put it on a blockchain and put it on only one blockchain. So that's a little ridiculous. But yeah, there's things to get to 100,000 transactions feasibly. But yeah, where do you do when you get past that? Yeah, you build up to layer 4, layer 5 technologies, where it's not on the blockchain. It's not going to be as decentralized and trustless. But that's where you go if you want all these things to happen. And then yeah, the blockchain is kind of the settlement layer. It's the dispute layer. For education, yeah, I mean, how do you educate people like we're doing now? But is this scalable? I mean, there's 500 people here, but there's 6 billion people out there. So yeah, videoing it, I mean, we can only do so much, but yeah, it's, friends tell friends, but this is a very hard topic. Does everyone even need to understand it? Probably not. They don't know how the internet works. They just know click Wi-Fi, it's okay. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. But yeah, getting developers to know, that's good.
Yeah, I kind of agree. So I don't have anything kind of really new there. I don't have any secret sauce to the scalability issue. I think on the educational piece, the meetup thing, yeah, I don't think it's scalable. I mean, what should we do? Should we do 250 meetups times 100 people and then slowly have them as prospects and getting their feedback? It's going to take time. I think that can be done online, big time.
But that's what is done, right?
Yeah.
So it's meetups, online stuff.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I've been working on the consumer products for the past 10 years, and then like all these products has like millions of users and like tens of millions of users. Yeah. So like what I think about like how we can have like a lot of users they start to adopt a blockchain is those like consumer companies is they start to adopt it, just like the Kik project, right? Kik, they introduced a token called Kin, right? So it's a dying company, but they still have like I think 200 million of active users. Yeah, so basically when they start to introduce a wallet of Kin, like 200 million of users, they can, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I have one answer for both questions. I think maybe we need to first make blockchain interested for normal people and developers. So maybe the scalability is not the issue. Maybe the real issue is about the accessibility or we do have some interesting applications on blockchain, not some ICO and tokenization all the time. So maybe this is not the question, for is the blockchain gonna be interesting for normal people or normal programmer, right? And the answer for education is also if this blockchain is a very interesting area, more and more people were chasing for us. Now we do the education things, for those people. They don't interest about our industry. There'll be no way. Yeah.
Very quickly, I totally agree. I mean, you have a user, okay? He doesn't really know what's the underlying technology behind that. He just wants to know, what does this app do? How can I get my money, or how can I transfer stuff? How can I buy stuff? That's it. Okay. So the question is, do we really need to educate millions and hundreds of millions of people about blockchain, or do we need to develop stuff on the blockchain platform that can help everybody's lives? By doing that, I think we've reached our goal, right? We don't need to really educate everybody about protocols, blockchain, programming, developers. No, they want to know simply, what does this do? Is it a good product? Is it safe? Is it secure? Right? And that's it.
So to summarize it all, there is no need in actual education as in universities, right? Just build your projects, scale them to people, and it's done, right? Okay, so we are running out of time, as I understand, right? So we are almost done. So thank you so much. That was the panel about blockchain and inclusion, and I hope we were totally valuable for you today, guys. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you. Nice to meet you. Yeah, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Dušan. Sorry. Yeah. You have my card, you have my details, right? Yeah, we have each other on LinkedIn. During the last time, yeah, I'm here. I'm here in Hong Kong as well. Meeting Hong Kong. No. In December, we'll get back to you. Right, yeah. Now in Singapore, yeah, I have enjoyed the transparency. So I work for consensus. We met in Hessen, right? Yeah. What towns? No, I remember. You met in May 26th. No, I remember. It was for this very small. We basically have a platform you can track all your transactions. Transfers, cost line. Yeah. Once you generate financial reports, financial statements, update in real time as a classified transfers. You can toggle a button and make them transparent to show them. No. I mean, you got to call the chat. Maybe you want to check out the platform. Or I can follow check out the consensus.
家都记得住你，不然太乱了。那我对别人啊，一共就6个人，一共就5个人。一共就5个人。可以挪过去一点，挪过去一点。这个是最重要的项目。你现在组了几个人？啊？现在组了几个人？5个人。你们多少人？20人。20人。4倍，我靠！我们要做现在运营项目。10个人全是全职的嘛？16个全职。我们是把全职都算上才14个，而且14个里面还有一些是可能最近没有怎么使用的。哎呀，美国招人不容易啊！但是现在都不是开，我们当时应该说很幸运，刚好在国外。还好吧，其实美国身份也很尴尬，因为美国管的也很严，所以没什么好说的。我这个给2边都管。
Okay. So.
向红。
向红。
对。Crezee. Z. 啊，按顺序怎么按顺序？Hi, Francis. So you are answer, right?
Yeah, I'm answer. Yes. We sit in that order, so they.
Yeah, we are in that. Yes.
Okay, I don't know whether you still remember me. I messaged you in WeChat.
Okay.
Regarding the pre-sale.
Oh, from which country?
Thailand.
Oh, okay, now I remember.
Yeah. Speaking here? No, actually in Turkey.
I remember. Well, later on we record everything, so you don't understand, right? We actually you guys actually it's like indirect sale. So basically like we are
Hello. Hi, for the ones that for this session, please stay on. If for the ones that are speaking, not for this session, please help us out. Thanks. Well, since we only have half an hour, let's get to it very quickly. Okay. Cool. Okay. You see some of these questions I'm going to ask very high level. Why are you doing it? What's the vision? Okay, guys. Thanks for coming to the QTUM session now. My name is Anson. I hope some of you already know me by now. I'm heading the association here based in Singapore. We also have Access Malaysia as well now, and working on Access Indonesia, Thailand, Myanmar, and so on. The whole idea is to link up all the different associations with the same financial inclusion mindset, as well as agnostic blockchain technologies coming together to actually help a better world. Okay. So not only that, I also work on InfoCorp technologies, where we're actually leveraging on blockchain to help farmers do the financing when they're in difficult trouble, especially during the late harvesting seasons. So we actually go and tokenize the cows for them, okay, so that the cows can be sold, and once it's, but the cow doesn't have to die, and then afterwards, when they have the harvest, they can pay back and get the cow tokens back. So literally now we're going towards the bottom of the pyramid to help the people. And obviously this whole conference is about inclusion, and for myself, I like the concept of how QTUM actually works and the team. Especially knowing John and Patrick went up to see them in Shanghai, what they do, it's really gets me interested. And even better now, we have different projects leveraging on QTUM. So that means there is something very important in QTUM that people like to use of. So can I ask, okay, stupid question, but I still have to ask, who here has not heard of QTUM? Okay, good enough. Okay, that's good. At least we have the room. Okay. So just in case, how about I'll just get one of you to explain what is QTUM?
I think QTUM is combine the Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's like the cryptocurrency and make the add the smart contract platform.
I think for content, I think content is the new sexy. Yeah.
So QTUM and the quantum are the same. Well, yeah, like yeah, when I first learned this project about quantum, and I think the idea is very cool. It's about like combine together the Bitcoin and Ethereum, which are two very popular and promising projects at that time, and also like proof of stake. It's one of another feature. I think that's one like long waiting feature both Ethereum and other proof of stake project wanna have, and they have that built in. So I think it's a cool idea. That's why like the first time I understand, and when they released the testnet, I think yeah, it works as it's promised. So it's a very cool project.
Just want to ask who here has heard of proof of stake? Guess most of you, right? Okay, but who here has actually seen how has not seen how proof of stake works, but like only heard about the theory and stuff? Okay, good. Okay, so at least I know where the room is. Okay, so as a layman, proof of stake is actually quite interesting. Okay, it feels like you're just putting your QTUMs in the wallet and you're actually getting a dividend, in a very layman term. Okay, but from a tech perspective, it's very different. There's a lot going on behind. You actually need to put your QTUMs to quote unquote work. Okay, in order to get the extra QTUMs back. But now there are multiple types of proof of stake. You can proof of stake by putting in A and getting out B as well now. So instead of putting in A and getting extra A's. Okay, so putting in QTUMs, extra QTUMs. But another form is putting in QTUMs, you may get out something extra. You can also do different forms like that. Okay, now that we've talked about QTUM, we need to know who these guys are. Okay, so can you do a short introduction of yourself and the project that you do?
Okay. Hi, I'm Z. I'm CEO and co-founder of SpaceChain. So what we do, we are creating the first open source satellite network, and we are making basically Android for satellites. So before we only know like very few functions about how to utilize satellite functions, but now we're creating an open source developer tools, actually like platform. Basically, it's a new OS. We are helping enable the developer to develop your application on satellites, and we created this blockchain sandbox architecture to help to So basically, we upgrade the whole satellite operating system from the single use to multitasking at the same time, and they don't crash each other, and they can only read the limited information such as a radar, camera, so we don't interrupt the flight control, but they can also they can run proper application upon it. Yep, and also we are also the purpose of the project is that we are making the decentralized infrastructure, because I think most of the apps nowadays are building on centralized infrastructure, such as internet and cloud service. So I think eventually it will be potentially a huge risk in the next 5 to 10 years as the blockchain gets bigger and bigger. For example, your cloud service provider can suddenly decide, oh, you become a threat to my company, and I'm just gonna shut down your business, shut down the service for you. So basically, we're creating an infrastructure that is decentralized. So even you are saying bad thing about me every day, I couldn't even shut you down. So that's
talking
what we're
about
doing.
that and regulation as well. Who's going to regulate the satellites?
So yeah, so we not only we're gonna put the technology-wise, it's not only decentralized, but we're gonna put the governance and also the legal structure. So multiple foundation at different jurisdiction holds rights of the satellite. So even when government goes crazy, shut us down, we still have 9 running. So yeah, that's what we do.
I think the God is gonna govern your project. Okay. Hi guys. My name is Huang. I'm the founder and project lead of Bodhi project. And Bodhi is another like decentralized prediction market. So we are building on quantum, and we are targeting the Chinese market. And third, we combine the current existing prediction market feature together So we provide a better and more flexible Oracle scheme. So our strategy, I mean, I myself started my journey in this blockchain area since 6 years ago, and I started my own this project early this year. So after for the past 6 years experience, I realized still we don't want to build something very new or cool idea and to get impressed by someone and we'll spend another maybe 3 to 5 years to build it. Our strategy right now is to try our best to build this product in production as soon as possible and get used and get run on blockchain as soon as possible. So our strategy is totally different from a previous prediction market. Yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Kai Yang from Anygo Labs. I'm the actually what Anygo Labs do is we implement blockchain to the energy sector to help people have a decentralized autonomous energy community. So what is a decentralized autonomous community? So for example, if Anson has installed a solar panel on his rooftop, he can generate solar energy and use it. But how's about his excess energy? So we implemented blockchain with the smart meter in this microgrid, and then Anson can just sell his excess energy to his neighbors directly without a middleman. So what we want to do is to implement this cool technology to help to improve the energy efficiency, because I mean every year there are 10% or 20% energy get lost during the energy transmission, and also in 2015 all the governments they just signed the agreement of the Paris 2015. So definitely I mean the governments and all the authority they want to decarbonize the society and for a renewable energy and a sustainable environments. So that's what Anygo Labs do. So now we just launched the first project in the Philippines, and we target the Southeast Asian countries first, because our project it has a very strong geographic condition. That's in most big cities they don't have enough single houses for people to install the solar panels. So that's why we first target some rural areas in Southeast Asian countries to help these people not only get the lower price electricity, also they can get the electricity as a commodity to exchange the excess energy at a better profits for these people. Yeah.
Hi, I'm the founder of the Ink. Ink is the portal of the cross-chain based on content and Hyperledger. And I want to mention that why I will do cross-chain between content and Hyperledger. Actually, I have already done our ICO in China, but I refund all the money I raised so because of the regulation. So I think all the blockchain project is centralized, but they always mentioned they are decentralized. So because of the regulation, we have to refund all our money and we should stop our project. So I want to find out a solution of blockchain, how to make a balance of centralized and decentralized. So I want to do design a structure of blockchain to want to do a cross chain between a private chain and the public chain, so that we can release our token on public chain and we can do blockchain on our private chain, so that government can support us to do this. So my company in China is the biggest corporate blockchain company. We have 30 million corporates in our blockchain, and our government also invested us. So I want to find the solution. So Ink is like the portal to find a solution to solution of the intellectual property. Will help the register the corporates and tokenize the corporates. And we can also build some decentralized creative industry application in our protocol. So Ink is like the Nasdaq for intellectual property.
Okay, cool. So we know how individual companies. Now I was actually looking at the title of this particular talk, like why is it particularly QTUM? Now I really forgot that QTUM is a sponsor of this conference. So therefore, the guys in this room, you want to know why or why not QTUM. I think these questions are also very important. Okay, so with that in perspective, with your company, your use case, why is it that you decided to go with QTUM? And why not Ethereum or some others? And what's your vision going forward by using QTUM? Let's go from that side.
Our reason is actually very interesting. I think we are the very few blockchain project actually involves a lot of hardware. So from a hardware perspective, basically, as you may know, on satellite, the battery and electricity is very rare. So it's very difficult for us to do POW to run a full node. So actually, a POS will make much more like cost-efficient sense. And basically, we already finished build our first satellite. It will be launched on February. So on that satellite, we actually adopt the quantum technology platform, and we can run a full node. And one of the interesting things we are doing is we use the quantum platform to create a random number generator. So the seed of that random number comes from the radiation of the Earth plus the angle of the flight of the satellite. So it's a limited possibility for it to rotate around, and plus the radiation of the Earth, which is super unpredictable, and that so we can run a full node of the for quantum, and because it's POS, very low energy consumed in the process. So yeah, that's one of the major reasons. Also, quantum team has been super helpful and answer our questions. Help us a lot. Thanks, John. And yeah.
I have to say one more comment. In school, I was taught that, because of computer science background as well, the random number generated in your computer is never random. Okay? By doing all this radiation and all that, I think it can be much more random than the computer, definitely.
So for our project, so I want to point something like EVM, Ethereum, all this smart contract stuff actually make a lot of projects possible to be built directly on blockchain, and that's why Ethereum itself becomes so popular. And I started my journey to learn this since 2014, and I was almost like one of the very earliest guy to bring this thing back to China. Back to 3 years ago, we built WeChat groups, starting from a couple friends talking each other and grow so quickly. Right now, there's so many groups. Everyone talk about these different projects built on quantum or Ethereum, right? So it actually drives the whole wave for the past 3 years. And then when I start my own project, I choose quantum, which make a lot of my friends feel oh, now you change your mind. You are now supporting a totally different platform. And they kind of don't understand me, and they also ask me do you understand what quantum it is? Because back to 6 months ago, and then at that time quantum is they just done the crowd sale and have a white paper. They don't even release the testnet, and they question my vision about or my judgment about why we choose quantum at that moment, right? However, when I read the white paper, I really love the idea because at that moment, I want to build something which, like I said just now, to be practical and be released as quick as possible. So I need support from another public chain, but from a small team, so we can partner together. That's actually very a realistic idea from myself. Second, at that moment, I want to build this for China market. I see just in internet, right now blockchain industry is Silicon Valley is still leading this direction for ahead couple years than China, and I want to change that. I want to contribute to China, and that's why I want to find a public chain which first should be EVM friendly, second should be China friendly. And quantum, part of the founding team are from China. And that's why I choose quantum. You may ask okay, you are building a decentralized one on a global public blockchain, and why you still have to find a Chinese friendly chain, right? For me, like, yes, blockchain is global, just like internet is global. But business, language, culture are all about local. You need to find a more like a local, friendly public chain and team so that you can build very strong business partnership in the future. So even though you are building some cool decentralized app on blockchain, eventually when you make this in production, when you want to market your product, you're gonna like, you know, like down to the earth, find some real person, talk together and build this partnership. And I think Quantum is one of the best candidates among my judgment. And after they released the testnets and now the mainnets, I think I made one of like the best decision ever. Just like 3 years ago, I found Ethereum, or 6 years ago, I found Bitcoin. Yeah.
So for me, for Enigo Labs, I think the first reason is that in our solution, we definitely need a blockchain-enabled smart meter. And also, like John has said, we mentioned we also have a machine-to-machine, like the EV charging service. So definitely, in most smart contracts or blockchain system, I think their triggering events is from their blockchain itself, rather than the real world. And I think they don't have enough interaction with the physical world. So that's the first reason why we choose quantum. And I think the second, and that's the most important reason, I think, like Xiaohong has mentioned, because there are more and more like projects claim they are the best, they are the most innovative projects. But I only just judge what I can feel and I can see it. So I think Quantum office is not far away from our office. I can always track what they are doing right now, and so that's the biggest reason, because I definitely think invest a good people or good team is better than invest the most innovation thing, I think. And the third reason is I think they are the most good-looking team in the development. So.
Yeah, the main picture is still on the website, right? Yeah.
Yeah, as Xiaohong said, we are not just do blockchain, also business. So Inc. will offer the private blockchain in the local business environment, so that we can know, just like the corporates, like the intellectual property. In China, we have Chinese culture. In Singapore, in Japan, in Korea, we have the local business environment, so that we can offer the private chain in the local environment. We can do the best solution for the local business environment. And the second reason is that I think the Quantum is one of the best public chain in the world. And the most popular project in blockchain, I think now is the Pocto and the Cosmos. They are do the cross chain between public chain and public chain. But for me, I have already run my company for 2 years. I used to build an application in Ethereum, but I found that my application in Ethereum cannot work in the business environment. Yes, because it's when I register our corporate in Ethereum, you use a lot of gas, and the speed is very slow, and I cannot find that in a business environment. It's so slow, and it costs so much. It's not useful for our business environment. So that I changed my mind. I want to build my public version, but I meet with Patrick. I think Patrick gave me some solutions. So public, if you choose a best public chain, you can just build a cross chain. You can build your private blockchain, so that it's okay. We built a very good infrastructure for blockchain, so that if you are a very successful company, you want to go to the crypto world, in the blockchain world, so you can just use the Pocto, so that you can make your business more efficiently. I think so that I choose the QTUM, and the QTUM is a very good team. They have their own opinion about blockchain, we can cooperate with each other. We built another blockchain. It's different than other blockchains, and we built, I think it's more suitable and more efficient blockchain in the commercial environment.
Okay, so for me, I'm a very realist CEO. I hear all the rah-rah on the positive side. Now I want to hear the negative side. Okay, but it will be good for QTUM too, because I'm also investing in QTUM as well. I want to hear what you guys have to say. So from a improvement perspective, what do you think QTUM can improve on and compete later on a even much more level to level with Ethereum? What can they improve on?
Personally speaking, I want to go back to the POS thing. So basically, one of the things I have been talking with Patrick is I think it's unfair for some exchanges staking with their tokens that really don't belong to them. Because I found, like personally, I found there are exchanges who are using their users' token to do staking. I'm not really sure how they're gonna use the token to stake. So I think that's a major issue for the users. But I think it's good for to actually stabilize the whole network. But I think from the rewarding side, then it's maybe unfair and it's really hard to control. So I think there should be some kind of community rule or certain things like that to help to just to improve the fairness of staking. At this moment, like I'm not sure how they're gonna like handle the token they stake.
So I want to talk about the ecosystem of quantum, because I think like Ethereum, when it's been released, it's kind of like very basic one, but right after that, so many developers have to build tons of different tools like MetaMask, MyEtherWallet, Mist, everything, like keep releasing new features and keep fixing a lot of bugs for the past 3 years. And the community grows so fast because they have like first movers advantage. So that's why now it's very, very big community, and the whole ecosystem toolkits are so good and so like easy to use. I think this is very important because as the community grows up, then your ecosystem will always get improved. Quantum is new; it's been released just a couple months, and it definitely need more to get like attract more users and more projects to contribute to the ecosystem. And I think this may take a very long time to go because they have to show their like advantages. And I hope like we, as one of the app built on quantum, can help to like basically we partner together and we will build our product on quantum, but we also will help to build a lot of toolkits for quantum community and for as a like as a return, and hopefully like more people will contribute to this cool ecosystem.
Yeah, I will have to make it as a quick way. So we only have 5 minutes. So I think the biggest challenge for our project is at the end, what's the value of the product to these users? So I think maybe the biggest challenge for quantum and also for HelloGold Labs is how to really implement the quantum technology to the product. So because I mean, for these energy users, they don't care about whether it's blockchain, circle chain, or maybe next year it's triangle chain. They only care about whether HelloGold Labs solution can help them save some money and whether the electricity is stable or safe. So I think for these users, like energy consumption, yes, they have a higher frequency but lower cost, and maybe just like $1 or like $5 at most. So I think that's the biggest challenge for quantum and also to our project, how to make quantum a stable and a higher speed transaction to these energy consumers and the producers.
Our project is the first project to release our token based on quantum standard token. So I found so many bugs, and everything is new. So I think it's normal, but we can figure it out. And I think quantum make a revolution of blockchain, and we are helping them. So as I said, I used to build an application based on Ethereum, but now I think quantum is the best. So we are on the way.
Said feedback anyway, doesn't matter. Okay, we have 1 minute, so one question. Okay. Okay, yep. Sorry,
my question is, how is QTUM going to break out beyond China? How is QTUM going to break out beyond China, expand beyond China? Because I understand how technical, I understand the use case. We hold QTUM. I love it myself. But when I speak to somebody who's not from China, nobody's heard of it. So what are your thoughts on
that? Personally speaking, I think I feel like personally speaking, I've been like traveling around, and I feel like quantum is pretty international. So I know one of the biggest communities is definitely in China, but they have a huge fan base in Korea. We went to Korea. A lot of places know about quantum, crazy about quantum. Japan, Singapore. I think we went to London, St. Pittsburgh. We always found like quantum fan. So it's not just China. First of all, I think with the development of different D apps and the more like documentation, use development tools, like quantum can definitely attract more international attention. Something we're also like my project is trying to do. Like I want to provide a global connectivity for all the blockchain projects. So definitely, like for me, when we aim like to what's the mission, what's the purpose of the project, it's always global. And if we're building up quantum, we definitely want to grow with the quantum community and to be more international.
My answer may disappoint you because I think like for me the very first step should like make quantum like popular in China first. So to do so, you have to have like good project built on that. So it may take some time to do this first step, and then I think afterwards, then it proves like, oh, it really works and it's really like useful. And then second step, I think Quantum Foundation will figure out what's the next step. So I will give you opportunity to answer this question.
Maybe first, I think John and the Quantum Foundation have to clarify whether it's called Quantum or QTUM, because sometimes it confuses me. And second, I think just because partner with some kind of international, though we are from China, but we target the global market. We have our markets in Southeast Asia, and also we will expand our market in Netherlands. And also I think Ink Chain and Budi and Space Chain, they all have the global market and the vision. So the first step is do it. And do not hesitate and think about so many questions, because when you hesitate, sometimes you lose the chance to catch up. So I think that's the best option right now.
Yes, as Kiki said, Quantum just released their mainnets for 2 months, I think. But we already have 30 DAPP in Quantum. So as Kiki said, all of the DAPPs will target their market on global, such as Ink. We have office in London, in Singapore, in Beijing. So we can remote the Quantum in Europe and in Singapore. So many DAPPs, we are the fan of QTUM, and we also want to build a strong community of QTUM. So all the DAPP of QTUM will promote the QTUM.
Can we put this back to Patrick, okay? Now you have all the feedback. Right. Thanks, everyone. I think we'll run out of time. Just give my hand of applause for everyone. Thanks.
Let's take a picture. Yes. Take a picture. John?
Come with us.
Let's take a selfie first.
Yeah.
Oh, picture first.
Wait, all right, look at these. Okay.
Oh, hold on. Wow, bro.
Okay, cool.
Take one for access, sorry. Yeah, I'll just sponsor, yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you
so much.
Okay, go. Oh, sure.
my student. Yes. And I'm from business school in and I have also background in computer science.